Hi guys, and welcome to part 2 on the Vespa PX 125 respray. So as you know, we left off on part 1 at the end of the first coat of base coat. Now once we finished filming and once we finished the part of the video that you guys have seen, we then carried on for around about another 3 to 4 coats until it matched our spray out card, because like we said in the first video, it is a very hard to cover colour and it does need quite a few coats to get that build, to get that colour looking right. Now in this video we're just going to concentrate on the clear coat stage. Now normally I wouldn't go for something like the Sata 5000 for a job that's this fiddly, but I have trialled this gun on a push bike that I did a while back, and I found that if I turn the fan down and I turn the fluid down, then I could get into those really little fiddly areas with enough ease, and I think we got enough room on this job to get the pot round and actually make it round the bike. So for the gun settings for this, I went for 2 bar as usual. Fluid adjustment, I've got 1.5 turns open and the fan 3/4 open. So one of my main reasons for using this gun for this job is because we are using the quartz liquid glass. Now it does put down good quality HS clears with a lot of ease, and I wanted to use the liquid glass for this job because it's a nice clear, it holds its gloss, it lays down really flat, and it can be done with ease, and overall it's just generally, I think personally, a really good quality clear coat. You can always tell a good quality clear coat because when you put it through a good gun, it goes down and it'll glass out for you effortlessly, and you find it really easy to achieve the finish that you want. You don't get gloss drop, and they're nice and easy to polish when it comes around to actually nibbing and polishing, or a full flatten polish, whichever you decide to do on a job. Now for the actual clear coat for the first coat, what I'm going to do with this bike is I'm not going for any sort of build or anything like that. I don't really want to really wet this bike out. I am literally going for a full closed coat, so a full sealed wet coat, but I only want to go about 30% of the film build that I really want as the total finish. This is going to help with drying times, flash off times, and also at the end it's going to give us a nicer finish. That tacky coat to start off with is going to give that second heavy wet coat something to grip to. Now with good quality HS clears, the only problem that sometimes you do get, if like myself you're spraying an ambient temperature booth, some of you DIY and home built booth guys might be in the same boat. So I have found that rather than putting down a full wet heavy coat and then a second full wet heavy coat, the best bet with this particular clear coat is to put down a nice light even coat, give that a good 10 to 15 minute flash off depending on the temperature on the day, and then hit that then with a really nice solid heavy wet coat. So your first coat is literally going to be your tack coat, your second coat is going to be what you're using for film build and overall finish when you actually finish spraying the job. Which is why, as you'll notice on this very first coat, I'm not being too exact, I'm just trying to make sure I've got a nice light even coat over the whole bike. Now on the actual main part of the bike here, you'll have seen this in part 1, it is quite a fiddly bit around the headstock, around the front mudguard, so it is something that you need to be a little bit more careful with. Now on the big flat areas there, I'm just pulling that trigger all the way back and using that full 1.5 turns of fluid that we've got. When we do get round the actual handlebars and headstock section in a minute, what I'll be doing is I'll be slightly feathering the trigger so that I'm not putting such a heavy coat in those areas, because one thing we need to watch is film build in those tricky areas. There's a lot of edges, there's a lot of panel lines, and there's a lot of bits and pieces where it'd be so easy to get build up without actually getting an even coat around the parts around those edges. So we need to utilise the fact that we need a bit of gun control around there. We need to just feather that trigger a bit lighter, concentrate more on getting in those areas than we are actually at this point getting the finish on those areas. We just want to make sure that everything's got a nice even light coverage, and it is something that does take a bit of time and a bit of getting used to, but once you've been spraying for a while, once you've been sprayed a couple of jobs, really I find that you can get used to a gun quite easily, and you get used to how your materials as well as your gun perform. we did say in one of the other videos, the one thing about this gun is it does give you a lot of confidence when actually spraying, and I've found that you can put paint in this gun and you think you can just go straight to a job and you've got the confidence that the gun will perform. The other thing really is learning your materials and learning how they work, learning how your clears flow out, and pretty much every clear coat that I've used over the years is different. Some cheap clears will flow out really well, some cheap clears will not flow out at all, they are really horrendous. Some HS clears and good quality clears flow out really well, some really don't have much flow out. Sometimes you can aid them with a bit of thinners, but overall, I mean, my two favourite clears really would have to be the Capsi 6030 and the Quartz Liquid Glass. Now, they are my two personal preferences, and that's not me trying to sell you either of those products. The Capsi 6030 I like for the more refinishing work, so the standard repair and refinishing work that you would do in an average shop, so any repairs to factory finished cars. I find it really easy to alter the peel on it with a slight bit of adjustment in my spraying style. So for me, it makes that a good clear for the quicker turnaround jobs, but you still want that really good quality clear and you want a really nice finish and the ease of being able to polish it up without too much effort. The liquid glass, I prefer this for the more custom work like this and the resprays that we do, because it gives a really nice off the gun finish. It's got a brilliant film build for just what is a 70-30 or a full 2 coat if you've got the option of a bake and you can bake it out, so it's still easy to polish afterwards. And that's the other thing I found with this clear, that both of those clears are really easy to polish. Now, I use really 3 main clears. I use the liquid glass, I use the Capsi 6030, and I also use the colour mix as well. Each has their own advantages and has their own pros in their own rights. Something like the colour mix we'd use for little spot repairs on bumpers and stuff like that. It's an MS clear, it's fast drying, and as I say, it's just personal preference. Everyone has their preference, whether it be guns, clear coats, primers, but at the same time, obviously with the channel we try and show as much as everything as we can, and we have used quite a lot of clear coats now to try and give you guys an idea of the finishes and what you can actually do with each clear coat. So we are now on to coat number 2. We've given this a good 15-minute flash off between the first coat and putting this second coat on, and as you'll see me doing there, I was just doing a little bit of a tack test just to make sure that that clear coat is at a stage that it's ready to take this second coat. So this second coat we are just going to apply a little bit slower. We've kept the gun settings the same, it's not something that we want to alter. All you need to do really is just go that tiny little bit slower. You could, if you wanted to, work faster and open up your fluid that little bit more, but on something like this that has got really tricky parts and little areas that you need to make sure that you can concentrate on getting a nice finish on, one, because at the end of the day we all like a nice off the gun finish, and number 2, because with this being a bike and having a lot of fiddly bits, it's not going to be something that's going to be the easiest to flat and polish, and some areas are that fiddly that there's just no way that you can actually physically polish them. So we are just going to slow things down and take our time a little bit, make sure we've got good gun control, and just watching our build and watching the finish as we go through, making sure that each part as we go through the process is the finish that we want to leave it at. Now, because we gave this that really nice 15-minute flash off, that first coat now is like a piece of duct tape. This second coat will stick really nicely. We can get a lot more film build on there with a lot less chance of getting any sags or runs or any problems with build up on any areas on the bike. So as I wanted to conclude both full coats of clear coat on this video does go on a little bit longer than really what we'd normally put up. It does go to about 20 minutes. So what I'm going to do for you guys is just put a little bit of music on in the background so you can just sit back and watch a little bit of the spraying and watch a little bit of the technique and hopefully pick something up, and I'll be back with you soon, guys. So we're all finished up on the panels now, and we're just finishing up now on the actual main body of the bike itself. Now this again is the part that you want to just be that little bit more careful on. Areas such as this that are nice and big and flat, you can get that fan nice and wide, you can go nice and slow and treat it as if you're painting any other panel. Obviously when you get up in towards the headstock up at the top and the handlebars, as we said before, you just want to still be careful of the build up that you're getting around those areas. We are now going for a coat for build and for finish, but you just do want to take that extra little bit of care around those fiddly areas, and even on the things like that curve, just to make sure that your finish is right, and just double check everything before you finish. Now I find that clear coats, as much as spray guns, if you're confident in your spray gun and you're confident in your clear coat, that's great. But another thing is, especially for the less experienced people out there, is getting to know your clear coats, getting to know how much you can put on, how far you can push your clears before they are going to start to sag and run, and more than anything really, learning the materials that you're using and how they work and how they react to how they're being put on, whether it's really heavy or really fine. And I find that is actually quite a big part of the job. As much as actually learning to pick up a gun, what it does and how to spray, is learning your materials, their uses, their flaws, and their little hidden gems that you can pick up along the way. And it's, for most part, it's something that you'll really pick up over time. The only way that you'll really learn to get that ultimate flat finish, which is something that get asked about so much on the channel, is you've got to learn to push your clear coat, and the only way you're going to learn how to push it is you're going to get a run. Runs aren't a problem. If you get a running clear coat, they can be quite easily removed, so it's not something to worry about too much. But it's that fine line between getting it ultra flat and getting it running down the side of the panel. It is a fine line, and it's something that you'll learn with experience. At the same time, even though I myself think of myself as an experienced painter, we all still get runs. It's just part of being a painter and pushing those limits to get that ultimate finish on a job. Now up and around this top on the handlebars and everything, these are the kind of areas that said that you just want to take that extra little bit of care. Take the extra time. It doesn't matter if it takes you what seems like an age to actually get around there painting, as long as you're keeping that wet edge and you're not getting any dry spray over anything that's flashed off, then there's no problem taking that little extra bit of time just to make sure that around the top end things are nice and things are looking the way you want. So guys, I know this has been a bit of a longer video than usual. Let me know your thoughts, if you're happy to have slightly longer videos. It's sometimes hard to gauge obviously what the viewer wants. We've been getting a lot of suggestions since we've started asking you guys in the last couple of videos, which is great, and we're going to try and incorporate some of them into upcoming videos. But obviously, the amount of time that you guys watch for, if you guys would rather have a video that's around about say 10 to 15 minutes, or you'd prefer videos that are half hour, let us know and we'll do our best to sort that out. Also, if you prefer something a little bit more cut off with a bit of music in the middle to break it down a little bit, let us know and we can start adding a little bit more music in there and stretch the videos out a little bit longer for you guys that way. And at least that way it's a bit more entertaining for you to watch, as well as being able to learn and get some information from it and get our thoughts and obviously watch us doing our thing. So guys, thanks once again for watching. If you're one of the subscribers we've had from the beginning, or whether you're new to the channel, thanks very much for watching. And if you are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that like button and give us a subscribe. We've got new videos going up every week. We're going to try and get 2 to 3 a week going again. Hopefully the videos are going to get better and better, and like this one, we are going to try and add as much information about products, materials, tooling, and hints, tips, and just general refinishing advice as we go along. So I do hope you've enjoyed this video. There's some pictures coming up and some short video of the actual finished bike itself. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you again soon.